At this point, when I see a story pop up about a big game studio laying off a bunch of its staff, I'm not surprised. I'm completely numb to it because for months this has been going on. It's been going on in multiple industries, but I follow gaming a lot, and it seems like gaming is having like a crisis right now where just every studio seems to have to lay off a bunch of its staff. So back in early April, when I heard Singularity 6, the studio behind Palia, laid off a number of people, I was gonna make a video. I play Palia, I like it a lot. And I decided, okay, this is like every other studio. I really have nothing to add to the conversation. I'm making a video today because that same studio did another huge round of layoffs. And that, at least to me, seems very uncommon. I've seen plenty of these happen. I've not seen them so close together. And now, rightly so, the community is pretty alarmed. So this round of layoffs is affecting about 36 or so people, and they think that's about like 40%. And the previous round of layoffs was like somewhere in the ballpark of like 40 to 50 people. So I did some quick chat GPT math. And according to all these calculations, which I hope are somewhat correct, ChatGPT is saying there's probably like 54 people left in the studio. Now, that's assuming Palia didn't backfill some of the positions that they got rid of initially during the April layoffs. We really don't know where this stands, and this story is very new, so we don't know how they're going to respond just yet. Oh, speaking of the amount of people left, I forgot to mention, this calculation here did not include for this quote here, which basically says, two sources said a bunch of people left after the April layoffs, leaving the staff much smaller, which is very common. When a company lays off a bunch of people, that tanks morale. It makes people feel like the writing is on the wall and they have to update their resumes. So yes, again, we don't know how many positions have been backfilled since those layoffs, but it's safe to say it is a much smaller crew. Now, if you're like me, you've seen plenty of games and played plenty of games that were released by either very small teams or solo developers. So it's not impossible for a game like Palia to run with 54 people. But it is an MMO. There are a lot of moving parts there. You have servers to maintain, you have to have regular content updates, and you have a community you have to watch over as well because people are going to gather in your Discord and things like that. So there's just a lot of different opportunities for a company like this to open up several roles. Because we don't know where these cuts happen, though, it's too soon to start panicking about the future of the game. But I do have my concerns, and I have my concerns not based on the amount of people left in the company, but just based on the future of the game and the plans that they have going forward. And before I dive too far into my thoughts on the future of the game, I just wanted to point out currently the game has about 7,600 people at its 24-hour peak. For Steam charts, this is pretty healthy, but you have to remember this doesn't include the Nintendo Switch players. And I feel like a lot more people own Nintendo Switches than they do gaming PCs. It's very likely that the number on Nintendo Switch is much, much higher. But anyway, I want to talk about where they go from here because I've played a handful of MMOs. I've played MMOs that are over monetized with massive cash grabs in them, all the way down to MMOs like Palia, where I feel like it is chronically under monetized. And to some of the people in the community, that's gonna be a controversial thing to say, but hear me out. Palia is a completely free game. You don't have to pay to download it. You don't have to pay a monthly fee to play on their servers. It is an online game. You can't play offline. So there are servers that are being run in the background. Obviously, there are staff running things behind the scenes. Palia is completely free up until you get to their cash shop. And their cash shop is selling, cosmetic items, clothing, things like that. And the prices there are steep. I'm not going to lie. I myself have spent maybe between $50 and $70 in their cash shop because when the game first came out, I wanted to support it. I like to support things that I enjoy, but I haven't really been tempted to go back. I kind of just wear like the same outfit. I have a bunch of outfits I bought that I'm just not looking at all. And that's basically it. I have no intention of getting anything else from their cash shop going forward. And that is like the biggest problem when you have a consistently running online game like Palia. So that last round of layoffs back in April, when they were asked about it, Singularity 6 said that this was for long-term stability. Okay, long-term stability, and then barely a month later, we're at it again. Now, in that time, Palia has released some updates. They have added things to their in-game shop, so they have done things that could conceivably make them more money, but there's been no big update that's come out since the April layoffs that does really a whole lot for their overall monetization strategy. With two back-to-back layoffs, I think it's safe to say that the cash shop alone is not doing enough to fund the game. I do not know if this game has investors behind it. It is kind of a startup in a way, right? So a lot of startups could have investors that are maybe supplementing some of those costs, but It's not enough, clearly. So my prediction is this. I feel like one of two things are going to happen. Either Palia is going to introduce more aggressive means of monetization, and as players, all we can do is hope that it doesn't get too out of control, or it's probably not going to last much longer. I don't see how it does. Maybe with how few people are left in the company, the sales from the cash shop are doing enough to support things, but companies are companies, okay? This is capitalism. You can't just not grow. And so I have to imagine something has to change. We are going to be asked to give them some more money in some form or fashion, or I don't know if the game survives in the long term, which makes me as a player feel like I don't know if I want to spend a lot more time in the game and get attached to the things I've built in the game if it's not going to be around forever. So I think what needs to happen next is something that Singularity 6 has not been great at, in my opinion, and that's transparency. I think they need to be upfront with, yes, we had to lay these people off. These were the positions they were in, and this is what we're going to do next. And I think what they're going to do next shouldn't be a simple quote of like, oh, this is for long-term stability again. It needs to be, we need to monetize the game in this way, or we need to manage our finances better, or we need to do something. We need answers if we're going to continue playing your game. And real quick, I just want to say to the people who have been laid off and been feeling like they need to find new jobs because they've been laid off, I'm really sorry. I hope you're able to find jobs. The games industry is brutal, and it seems it's especially brutal right now from everything I'm seeing. And so I do genuinely wish everybody who's laid off from Singularity 6 the best, because this is just heartbreaking to see. I have worked for plenty of companies that have had to do layoffs. I can say from firsthand experience how crushing it is to watch your coworkers get fired one day. You just come in and they're gone, and then everything has to just go back to normal. And it's impossible. It's really hard to get that out of your head, especially for the first few weeks after it happens. So one thing I can say with confidence is this is definitely going to slow things down with Palia. I think for the future of the game, they got to monetize it, and I think the game needs more to draw players in to the point where they're willing to pay whatever they need to pay to keep the game online. And I mean, there's not much here. The game's core functionality revolves around designing a plot. That's like the core gameplay loop is go out, grind materials, make money, use the money to upgrade your housing plot. That's the whole game right now. It's pretty much multiplayer Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing. I would have loved Animal Crossing to have better multiplayer, but it does get to a point where there's just not much to do. And if this game has to start charging a monthly fee, I'm not going to be paying for it, at least consistently. I'm probably going to give them, a month's worth of money. I'm going to play through the new content, edit my plot a little bit, and then I'm going to take a break and wait for some new content. So it's not looking great. And, my sympathy goes out again to the people who are laid off and the people who play this game and are feeling really, really burned and frustrated at this point. I feel very burned and frustrated at this point. And I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. I didn't talk about it last time, but this is unusual, it feels like. So I'm talking about it today.